Good morning.
Good morning.
It is Thursday, April 23rd.
Yep.
It is a beautiful morning here. We're praying that everyone is safe that lives in the area. There were a lot of tornadoes in southern Oklahoma and northern Texas that we're learning about this morning because it was calm here.
Yeah, it was fine. It rained in the morning, but tornadoes are like my
not something we had to worry
horrific.
about in Las Vegas.
Oh, the
but
first
they
time I
are.
heard, so tornado sirens go off every Saturday here. They test them at noon every Saturday. I kid you not. The first time I heard the tornado sirens, the first Saturday we were here, I about fell over and went to heaven right then.
I was like, honey, there's not a cloud in the sky. It's not a tornado.
Oh, I don't care about myself. Now I have a baby. I mean, I do care about myself, but it's a lot easier to worry about, like, getting yourself somewhere. But, like, I have a little tiny petunia to worry about now. And
this is the truth.
oh,
My name is Adam. I'm the youth pastor at Crossroads Church. This is my lovely, sometimes tornado-frightened wife, Sydney. And we have an amazing son named Jack. We have been reading every morning Jesus Calling by Sarah Young during this physical distancing.
that hopefully is almost over.
We encourage you to get one if you do not have one. It is an amazing way to start off your day and motivate you to seek God throughout your day,
Yes.
which is necessary in all of our lives.
So good.
April 23rd.
Yeah, let's see if I have it right today. Nope. Proceed.
It reads, "Keep your eyes on me, not only for direction, but also for empowerment. I never lead you to do something without equipping you for the task. That is why it's so important to seek my will in everything you do. There are many burned out Christians who think more is always better, who deem it unspiritual to say no. In order to know my will, you must spend time with me, enjoying my presence. This is not an onerous task, but a delightful privilege. I will show you the path of life. In my presence is fullness of joy. At my right hand there are pleasures forevermore." And there are two verses underneath for context. And they read, "But my eyes are fixed on you, O sovereign Lord. In you I take refuge. Do not give me over to death." Psalm chapter 141, verse 8. "You will show me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore." Psalm chapter 16, verse 11. One of the most recurring themes that we've come across in our morning devotionals in the Jesus Calling is the constant seeking of God, living moment by moment, knowing His will. And I think there's something a little different in here because I've actually come across this where you can find it hard to say no, and in doing so, you can run yourself ragged.
Yes.
And it may be the case, and I'm not, this is a fine line for me to walk because I'm not saying that you should just go out and start refusing requests or
Nope. Sorry,
of people to do things.
Today.
But I think just as far as extra things go, sometimes we need to be selective about what we do to conserve our energy for what's most important in serving God.
Yes, and we've been talking about this week a little bit, as we go back to, we're getting ready to go back to normal lives, and we're kind of all figuring out what that's going to look like and how it's going to feel and what we need to keep the same and change. And I just remember someone very wise telling me one time, when we first got into youth ministry, don't burn yourself out too quickly, because it was before we had a baby and it was just us and we were like ready to do everything. And he said, don't burn yourself out too quickly. It's okay to say no, because I would hate to lose what you have now to, burn out and stuff like that. So we often remind each other when we're, before all this happened, we're putting all this stuff on our calendar, and it's like, it's okay to say no sometimes to the things that aren't necessarily going to further you spiritually or further the kingdom of God. You took the words right out of my mouth. it's okay to say no to those things and not, but it's also hard to do so and not feel guilty because we're yes men. Like, we want to say yes to everything and figure it out. But then if you do, you kind of find yourself at the end of the day sometimes being like, I'm exhausted and I don't feel good and I haven't had time for my brain.
I think this comes to the point that if you do seek God throughout the day, He will lay on your heart exactly what to say yes to and what you can appropriately refuse.
Deny. Yes.
Because in no way am I condoning refusing help that someone is asking. You know what I mean?
Don't go help anybody. Yes.
And there are a couple really important words that stuck out. I never lead you to do something without equipping you for the task. Now, that's not saying that God is necessarily going to equip you for every single thing that you do, because every single thing He may not be leading you to do.
You have to listen to Him, see what He's leading you to, what's on your heart, what's on your, what do you feel led to participate in every day. And even if you have to go thing by thing by thing, and sometimes there'll be months where there's things you say no to more than you say yes to, and things where you don't say no to anything. And the most important takeaway, I think, is listening to God. Let Him lead you instead of do what we always talk about, which is fit a round peg through a square hole and be like, I'll just do everything. And
yes, because there are a lot of things that we lead ourselves to do for whatever motivation it is.
Well, I want to please people, and I think it took a long time for me to realize that pleasing people doesn't always mean saying yes.
And pleasing people doesn't always mean glorifying God either.
Yes.
Because there are often times where you may be asked to do something or put in a position where you're expected to do something, and it is not in alignment with God's will.
No.
And you're not glorifying God in that situation. And it is important that we are able to say no just as easily as yes. It's a fine line to walk, but then again, that comes to God will never forsake you. So if you are seeking Him in these situations, you can trust that He will let you know what is acceptable to say yes to and no to.
Yes.
And then when you are in alignment with Him, you can go in with confidence to the yeses, knowing that He's with you.
Yes. Not wondering, like, is this one of those things I should have said no to? Is this what I'm thinking about? Is this what, and you're confident. And I absolutely agree.
And it all comes back to spending time with God.
Quiet time.
This time right now is so crucial. Just reading our morning devotional, staying in constant prayer throughout the day, taking some time at the end of your day to reflect and pray to God and give thanks and all of these things. It all comes back to spending time with God. And I hope that none of us view that as, well, they said an onerous task, which is an unpleasant thing. It really is a privilege to have direct access to God. That is an amazing thing that was only accomplished through Jesus Christ. It is an absolute privilege to think that the God that created the universe and everything in it
has time for little old me.
Listens to us.
Me. Whenever I want. Whenever I so choose to seek Him, He is there to listen.
It's such an amazing thing to me.
I know. I encourage everybody, and I'm saying, when I say this, I'm encouraging myself too, and my family and my household, that when, as we're nearing the end of this, and we're nearing kind of this comfort bubble that we've all, not a comfort bubble, because I know that's not the case for a lot of us, but this new normal that we've all been in, I encourage us to just spend a little bit more time with God and ask Him to lead you to the right direction where you're supposed to come out of this life from now, and ask, how do we resume normal life? What is the best way I can do so and glorify you and please my family and, serve my community, do all of these things that are important to you while glorifying God, and ask for a little guidance, ask for a little direction. I know that's what I'm going to be doing. I know that's what Adam's going to be doing. And we're going to figure out what a new normal looks like for our family. And if that means, cutting some things out or making some changes, then if that's what God leads us to do, we're going to be okay with it.
Sometimes we can take things for granted because we are so accustomed to them, or we have never known anything different. But in the Old Testament, people didn't have direct access to God. They didn't have the Holy Spirit the way that we do. And it is such an amazing thing to live today and have the Holy Spirit and access to God that it's just an absolute shame if we're not taking advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And living for God in that sense.
I'm telling you,
it's a waste.
Once I figure out how to listen to the Holy Spirit,
man,
light bulbs all over, the whole freaking world lit up. I got it. Thank you, honey, for teaching me. But it was like, what? You mean to tell me that I can just shut up for a second and like tune everything out? You mean to tell me that if I just stop talking for a second, I might be able to hear the Holy Spirit and he might be able to guide me in the right direction? It was like, oh,
it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
I have to run to a meeting right now. Not physically, but on the handy dandy Zoom.
Look at Petunia in there.
On the handy dandy Zoom app. So we love you. Yes. We hope you're having a wonderful, blessed day, and God willing, we will see you tomorrow. Mwah.